Welcome everybody, this is Pano2VR 101 for patching. This is part of our 101 series for new people to Pano2VR or newcomers to Pano2VR, and of course good tips and tricks for those that have already been using it. I'm Martin from support, and
I'm Karen, also working in support at here, and today I'll be helping out with the Q&A in the background. And I just want to remind everybody to not only add your questions to the Q&A, you can see Martin was just showing you that, but please keep your questions on topic. We're talking about patches today, so we'll try to answer all your questions, but we will only address the ones that are on topic. Thank you.
Right, okay, so to start off then, as I say, what we've been doing with the 101 series is we've started with this project that I've opened, and over the series of time we've just been adding to it. Now what I've done is just opened it up again. This is the one that's got the hotspot set and no one else, hotspot set and nothing else, so it's almost a clean canvas. Right, okay, so you can see we've got big holes and everything else. So we call this patching. What is patching? Well, as you know, if you take a 360 image with a one-shot camera, or you do it with a DLSR and a tripod head and pano head, you're going to end up with something in the bottom. Now this was done with a DLSR and a pano head, and we've got this rather large black hole. So this is what patching is all about. It's covering up this hole. Now we can either cover it up, we can fix it, we can add a logo, we can do lots of things with this. Now before I start, when we first started this series, we quickly showed you the different patches that were available. We didn't go through all of them, we just went through the basic set. Now to actually get into patch mode into Pano2VR, you can either hover over the viewer tools here and select the patch here, it's the shape of the plaster, or you can use the keyboard shortcut A. If I press that, and you'll see that it changes to patch mode. Now one thing I do want to recap on, and I tend to recap on this in every webinar, but I think it's important, is I'm on the Mac. So and as you saw, when I touch a key, it displays in the top middle of the screen. There you go, to give you some idea, or to give you guys some idea of what buttons I'm pressing. Now because I'm on the Mac, I will be using key combinations, so I'll be using, say, the command key. Whenever you see the command key, if you're a PC user, that means the control. This button as well, the option key, is actually the alt key. So on the older Macs and PCs it's classed as the alt, and on the newer Mac keyboards it's the option key. So just wanted to get that out of the way, so when you see all these things flashing up, you sort of know what I'm doing. Right, so as I say, what I want to do quickly then is recap then. So we did a basic set of patches. We switched to the patch tool or the patch editor, and as I say, I've just used the keyboard shortcut. Just as a quick reminder, if you want to know about keyboard shortcuts, with Pano2VR open, go to the help, click help. You can go right down to references, and then you've got a list of keyboard shortcuts here. All right, so they're all there, already there for you to view. Right, okay, so with that done, to add a patch, you just double click and it adds this placeholder. Now we can resize this and we can rotate it. All right, now what we can do at this point is decide what sort of patch we want. Now as I say, as a recap, when we first started off, we used a mirrorball, angular map and a blurred cover. Just to show you what that is, if I select mirrorball, there we go. So we're just so we're not actually fixing the image at this stage. What we're doing is just covering it up. Okay, so that's the mirrorball. Okay, now the patches we didn't cover, so I've just selected the patch, clicked on it, and I've deleted it. So important piece of information there is that the patch editor is non-destructive. We're not actually writing anything to your panoramas. But when we create an output, that's being obviously part of the image created for the output. But having said that, we can do things which we'll discuss later about making the patches more permanent. Right, so this was our basic set of patches that we looked at. Now, what we've also got in the way of patches is this is probably more targeted for I don't know, street view, where you want to blur out faces or blur out number plates. We actually have a set of patches. If I just double click to add the patch, all right, and just have a look, you'll see that we've got a blurred square and a blurred circle. Now, we talked about the blurred cover last time round. A blurred cover pulls in the pixels. Actually, I'll just show you that rather than just talk about it. We have the time, so let's double click to add the patch, resize it, and let's just go for blurred cover. All right, so this is the blurred cover. How it works is it pulls in the pixels, and with the street view one, you just pull in the pixels and you've got this quite sharp edge in the middle. What we've done is put a blurred cover over it. So if you've got a tripod underneath it, this will actually physically cover that tripod. All right. Now, this is the difference between a blurred cover and a blurred. So let's just add another one, make it a little bit bigger. And let's just now add the blurred circle. The blurred circle does exactly what it says. It blurs it out, so you can still physically see things underneath it. But this is great for blurring out people's faces and things like that. Okay, we can actually apply how much blur we're going to add to it. If you find Pano2VR isn't updating quick enough, you can always right button click, update image, and that just gives it a refresh. So that's, as you can see, we can adjust how much blur we're actually affecting there. Okay, so I'll just delete that. There we go. Right, now these are tools that you're probably going to use on a regular basis if you are, you know, blurring out faces and car number plates. So let's just go to a different node. If I zoom in here, we've got this text on this door. Say, for argument's sake, I want to blur this out. Now, what we've also got is some keyboard shortcuts, all right, for this to speed this process up. If I hold down the Shift key and double click, that automatically adds a blurred circle. Okay. Now, at the moment, they're coming in locked, but we'll probably change this in the future. But all you do is you hold down Shift, click the patch, and it'll unlock it, which basically means I can now resize it and reposition it. And I can also change its aspect ratio if I want to make it more oval shaped to fill a face, as an example. Okay, so that's quite a good and speedy way of doing it. So just hold down Shift, double click, and then you can just resize, done, move on to the next one. I will say, of course, if you've got lots and lots of faces and things to blur out, then it's just probably quicker to open up the equirectangular in Photoshop and then just use the blur tool or the brush tool in Photoshop. But for, you know, if you've got several faces in a panorama, this is an excellent tool. Right, now that was the blurred circle. To get to the blurred square, this is Shift Command double click. That adds the square, and what I would do here is select it. I would resize it to its width, and let's just zoom in so we can see this. So I'd resize it to actually get the width I want, and then we can use the aspect ratio to change the image. Right, so if I now export this, because I want to see what this looks like actually physically finished in the panorama. So it was in node 2, so we go to node 2, and there it is, it's blurred out. So yeah, this is how it's working. So that's our quick and easy patch tool for blurring out things. So not so much, you know, correcting or covering up tripods, but we're using this patch tool to do other jobs as well. Okay, so again, it's non-destructive. I can select it, hit the backspace button, and it will delete. Okay, right. I think, do we have any questions at this point? I know I've been fairly quick into it, but this may be something that the Street View guys may want to ask.
Hi. No, we don't have any questions so far, except Jim was asking about project files, and yes, there are project files. If you haven't gotten them yet, you'll find them in the Q&A answered section.
Right, okay, cool. All right, move on then. one of the other things, what the patch, our patch editor is obviously famed for is extracting. So again, if I'm in the patch mode, double click, I can resize what size I want, and we can extract. Now when we extract, we can extract, I'm going to say, we obviously select an image. I want to extract an image, and you can also choose which format you're going to extract with. Now I tend to use PSB because I don't know if I'm going to be using, if it's a gigapixel or whatever type panorama. I also have Photoshop, which is great, because what will happen is that when we extract and we use a file extension like PSD or PSB, it will automatically open up your application that opens up that particular file type on your computer. So it could be that, on PSB and PSD, I'm going to open up Photoshop. Say on a ping image, you might open up, I don't know, a different type of image editor. So, but the thing is, whichever your file type you prefer, once you've selected it, if you right button click, you can set that as default. So even though Pano2VR might come with a default, I must admit I can't remember what it is. It might be PSB or PSD, but if ping is your file type of choice, you can set that as your default. Okay, so once that's been set, what we can do is click the extract button. And this will then do exactly that. There we go. Now this was fairly quick, but yeah, it extracts that patch, and I've now got it, and I can now work with this in my photo editor to correct it. Now this is Photoshop, and it's quite good, because if I select the lasso tool, and what I'm going to do is just literally draw around this image, and I'm going to right button click and select fill, and then we have content aware, everything, just leave as standard, click OK. Photoshop does its magic and it fills the hole. Now this is the clever bit. When I close Photoshop, it says, do I want to save? I say yes, so I'll save that. When we save the patch, Pano2VR uses it. Boom, it's done. We haven't had to do anything else. It's detected that we've updated the patch, and it's used that in this image. Okay, so how is it doing that? Right, well, if we have a look at the project folder, you'll see that we created a folder called patches, and here is the patch. So this is the image that we extracted with the hole in. Photoshop's corrected it, and when we save it back to this folder, Pano2VR knows that the image has been updated by its timestamp, and it can then open or insert or update that patch image. Okay, so that's fixing that. Right, the other thing we can do with patches is not just fixing nadias or blurring stuff, but we can actually fix imperfections in the panorama. Now, looking around this pano, there's a few. We've got this, if I zoom in, we've got this lens flare here, and we've got quite a big lens flare here. So we can use the same set of tools to fix these. So again, what I'm going to do is move to where I want to go. Now, you'll probably notice I've got this grid switched on. If you don't have the grid, it's this button down here. Now, I'm using that to target things and to make it easier for me to spot. You probably can't see it. I'm not sure how clear that is, but it's a red cross with a darker square around it. If you click and hold, I can actually change the color to the grid to the yellow, which might make it a little bit easier for you guys to see. But anyway, so that's my grid view. I can double click, add the patch, resize it to about there, extract the patch, and we can, I'll just make this a little bit bigger in Photoshop. I've got my lasso tool selected. I can just whiz around this. Obviously you'd be a little bit more accurate than me. Click fill, okay, it's gone. How about that? All right, I could, if I really wanted to, use the clone stamp. So let's clone that out and just put some bits of information in there or from the image. There we go. So, all right, so that'll do. If I close and save, that lens flare's gone. Okay, I'll do one more just to show you how easy this is. So here's quite a big one here. So I'm going to zoom in, not so big, double click, set my area, click extract. There it is. Again, let's zoom in a little bit. Select the lasso tool, lasso right round this. Here we go. Oop. And fill. Okay. Gone. Here we go. I can now save the image, and that's now gone. All right, if I click the cog and we'll export this, what's actually happening is, even though we haven't actually done anything with the input image, all of that data has now been transferred to the output, so the output is now clear of these imperfections. Here we go. So that's that image patched. All right, now obviously this is doing one image at a time. But before I go on, I know I've done quite a few little techie things there. So I'll just stop at this point, ask again, is there any questions?
So we have one question from Kevin. He asked if a patch can be a link, a web link.
Right, a patch directly can't, but you can overlay a polygon hotspot over it, which can. So yeah, so you can make a patch clickable, but all you do is you just put a polygon hotspot over it. All right, so but I will be showing a nice way of doing this that affects all patches after this. So, any more questions?
Well, no, everyone's pretty quiet. I think
that's worrying.
No,
I'm either doing a really good job or everyone's fallen asleep.
No, I think you're doing a really good job there.
Right.
And
okay.
Yeah, cool. Des, I'm glad you got it working. He was just having problems with the feed. So, okay. So I'll let you keep going.
Okie dokie. Right. So that was, fixing things, which is quite cool. What I'm going to do though is select the patch that I corrected earlier and just delete that, backspace it, and you can see it's all gone. Right. Okay. Did I actually want to do that? Did I want to do that? Let me think. No, I didn't. Okay, which is a great excuse to use our history tool. So here's our history tool, and I'm going to go back a step. Here we go, and there's our patch back. Boom. Just as a little tip there, because you know it's annoying when you do something and you don't realize you can actually go back. So there's a nice little history tool. It opens up in a panel, should I have said, and you can go right back if you wish. Obviously, if you save and close Pano2VR and reopen it, this resets, so it starts from afresh. But as long as you don't close Pano2VR, literally you can go right back from where you first started. Okay, now the reason why I didn't want to delete that just yet is because, as I said before, we're not actually affecting any of the input images. We're only, this is being non-destructive, all right? But what if you did? What if you wanted these adjustments to be actually in your input images? Right, well, what we can do is, if you select your image, we have a convert input button. And if I select that, you can see that we can create an equirectangular image. It was defaults at TIFF, so I'm just going to put that to JPEG because that's the file type of this image. And I'm going to include, or rather select, apply all patches. So if I now convert this and click this, that's exactly what it's done. If I just minimize Pano2VR, you see that we've now created a new input image. It actually added the file, added to the file name _equi. But if we have a look at this, you can actually see that it's completely fixed. You know, all those things have gone, it's been patched. This is a new input image basically, which Pano2VR is using. All right, now I don't want to use this, so I'm going to use our history back button again and select. Here we go. So let's just right. Basically, what happened there? Just this is a new build, and it just quickly gave me a bit of grief. But anyway, what I want to do, as I said, is click the history back, go back to patch, and we're back to the original image. So I can now, as I said before, we can delete this patch, I can now close the history. All right, so okay, that's all of that. Right, so what are we doing now? I want to show you our master node. All right, now what is a master node? Well, we've got these 4 nodes. All right, so we've got 4 different images, but we also have what we call a master node in Pano2VR, and that is if I go to Tour, we can edit master node. All right, if I select that, we get the holodeck. I'm going to actually turn off the grid because it's a bit distracting, but we've got this holodeck. We can open up the panels a bit so we can see it a bit more. All right, now this master node is whatever we do in here will affect all panoramas. So as an example, what I'm going to do, I'm in patch mode, I'm going to double click. Now we snap to zenith and nadir. All right, if you don't want to snap, you can actually hold down the Alt key and then you can move it incrementally, but if you let go, it snaps. All right, so that's that. Right, okay, I'm going to open this up to about 50, so make the patch. So that's my field of view I've just added. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the open folder and select an image. Now I've got a little round logo image, and I'm going to select that. All right, and that's all I'm going to do. And when I come out of this, what we should see is you'll see this is loading in the panorama. Now it's actually a transparent image. It wasn't actually designed to cover holes. It's just basically designed to put a logo around. But if I click in other panoramas, you'll see that it now appears in all of them. Okay, right, now one thing you may or may not have spotted, which is the right time now to talk about it, is you'll see that this patch is offset. Now, why is this offset? Right, well, in the series of doing the Pano2VR 101s, on the very first one, this image wasn't level. Okay, it was slightly tilted. So we leveled it. So now that we've put the patch in the master node, what it's done is it's put the patch where the image would have been before it was leveled. So what we have to do is if we go back to the master node, all right, and if I select the patch, I can select apply after leveling. All right, so now when I go back to it, it's in the middle. There you go. So yeah, if your patches are okay, and this is purely for images. If you're extracting images and doing it, you don't need to worry about this because you're obviously extracting that area as it is. But if you're doing an image overlay like this, Pano2VR will try and put the image overlay in the very bottom of the panorama. But if you've then moved that because you've leveled it, you do then need to select that box. Okay, right. So you can see that this has now been added to all panoramas. Now, this is pretty cool, but what if I wanted to change the direction of this logo? So at the front of every panorama, I want the logo at the top. Now, I can't do that because every panorama is probably going to start in a slightly different area. All right, so I might be looking, you know, wherever. So that I can't do it. I can't adjust individual patches. And also it may be that you want different patches on different panoramas as well. So how do I do this? Right, well, let's just go back to the master node, and I'm going to delete the patch from there. Actually, I won't delete it from there. I'll show you somewhere else you could delete it as well. So let's get out of master node by just selecting one of the images. If I go to my list view, now we've seen this before in other panoramas or in other webinars, but my list view, it shows you all the elements that have been added to any panorama. So I don't know, things like lens flares, hotspots, patches, etc. So you can see here that in this particular panorama I have one hotspot, there it is, and I've got two patches because I took out two lens flares, and I've also got the master node logo at the bottom. I can actually just delete it from here. There we go. Boom, done, it's gone. And that will affect all of the nodes as well. So I've actually completely taken that out the master node. All right, so I want to get into a situation where I can quickly add that image to all the nodes, but but also make that decision to delete it from that node or change its orientation or do something or adjust it. So how I would do this is start off with the node that I want to start with, double click, add my patch. Let's start with the FOV of 50 again. I'm going to select that image again. Here we go, open. All right, and it is now only in this panorama. Okay, all right, it's not there. But what I can do is in my list view, all right, you'll see it's been added here. I can now right button click, copy. I can now select these three, right button click, and paste. This will now add that to all of the panoramas. Okay, there it is. But what this does, I mean, it's an either or thing. I mean, if you've got a logo, go to the master node, add it there, boom, it's in all your panoramas, done. If you've got a logo which you may want to orientate, you can add it to the first node, add the patch there, copy it, and then you can just, basically Command A or Control A to select all of the nodes in your tour. Could be hundreds, could be thousands, whatever. And then you can literally just do the copy and paste and add it to all. But what this will do for you, if I double click this, you'll see that it automatically goes to whatever patch or item. If I double click for the hotspot, it just brings it into view. So let's go back to the patch. What I can do here now is with it selected, I can now orientate it. I can change its orientation. So let's just, where am I? Let's just look at the building. I want the logo to be, the text to be at the top. So I'm going to select that and let's move that to there. Let go, it updates and that's there. But I would not have, but it has not changed any of the others. So I can now individually do this. I can even pick a panorama and say, okay, I actually don't want that logo there. I can delete it. All right, so that one's gone. I can then add a patch and put a unique patch into this one. So that's a slightly different take on batch, if you like, or quickly add in patches to all panoramas. Right, quick breather. Have we got any questions so far, or are we good to go?
Oh, now we have questions.
Got it. I'm just gonna have a slurp of my tea. All right. Why's you read them out? Because my throat's going. So tea up.
Yeah, that's fine. I wanted to address there's two questions related to opening up the patch in your default editor, right. And I know some of us have our default editor, which could be Photoshop. I'm personally using Pixelmator Pro, but some of us have two different editors, and there might be a time when you want to open it up in an application that's not your default editor. What's the best way to? What's the best workflow?
Okay, right. Right, okay. Basically, Pano2VR has a preference setting. If I go to, I can't remember where it is. No, it's under advanced. Right, and it's going to be open. So let's patch open external editor after extraction. There it is. It's selected. So if I've got PSB is going to open with Photoshop, when I extract a patch, this is exactly what's going to happen. All right. If I deselect this, and I extract a patch, all it does is put the patch in the patches folder, but it doesn't open anything. You can then go to the patches folder and then open that image with whatever editor you wish. But that's how that's worked. But this is the reason why Pano2VR is automatically opening up the editor that I've got assigned to that file type, and it's because of that little checkbox. There you go. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's just good. I know personally, I use Pixelmator Pro and Affinity, so sometimes I want to be working in Affinity depending on how complicated the patch is, or if there's something that I know that Pixelmator Pro can handle better, or whatever. So I think it's nice to know that you can have it open up in your default, but you can always go back to the patch and edit it and save it, and it'll within Finder or Explorer, and it'll still update in Pano2VR. Okay. Jim had a question, a nice question. And I don't think we can go into detail here, but maybe you can shine a little bit of light on what the advantages or disadvantages of using convert image would be.
Right. You may want to use the panorama elsewhere. Part of this is legacy, because we obviously have our quick share button. So if you as you would have seen from I think the Pano2VR 101 getting started, we actually showed this at the end, where if you patched it and leveled it and did whatnot, you hit the quick share button and it creates your panorama. But what this does, what the convert to input image does, or convert to input image, put my teeth in, is it actually replaces the panorama in the project, and then it removes the patches that you've used. So as an advantage, if you didn't want, if you've got an image and you've done a lot of patching, obviously this could start to slow down Pano2VR, because you've got lots and lots of patches all over the place. You open up an image, and you've got all these patches. It's resource hungry. It could be at that point you go, you know what, let's convert the image. Bang, and all of those patches are now become part of the image. No more patches, so Pano2VR is free to run. The other thing that's really cool about this is that you can change your file type. So yeah, convert to image. So you can change your file type. So as an example, if you've got a huge image and it's a JPEG, when you load up Pano2VR, you'll see all the images load one at a time. If we convert, if you convert the image or convert the input image to, say, a TIFF, then we save them as a tiled TIFF, and they load really quickly. Now, I'm getting lots and lots of communication flying my way. Was this the question? Am I answering the right thing, or am I not? Karen? Hello.
Sorry, yeah. I'm going to have to find the unmute button. Yeah, I think I think you're answering the right question.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Okay. So,
yeah, and you're okay. You're good.
Right. Okay. Because that was the question, right? Why would I use the convert input, right?
Right.
Okay, cool. So that's why you do it. So one of two things. One, you can save all the patches to the original image, so to make a new image with all the patches applied. The other the other thing is as well is if you've got really large TIFFs that can take ages to load. If you convert to our TIFF, so exactly the same, so it's an equirectangular, it's a TIFF, and you're converting it with the same file name or with a slightly different file name, then basically we will save it to a tiled TIFF, and the image will load instantly because all the multi-resolution data is within the image. I would say that's a not a 101 type thing, but that's another reason why you would use this. Anyway, I'm hoping that covered everything. I probably gave a bit too much more, but anyway, hopefully that's answered.
Yeah, no, you're right. There's I think we were discussing, there's something called convert input, which is what you used here, and then there's also convert image or patch to image, which is very similar. So we were having a discussion if that's what Jim meant, but Jim already confirmed that yes, we are answering his question, and that's what he meant. Yeah. yeah.
And breathe. Right. Okay.
We're all good.
Right. I tell you what, I'm going to crack on because otherwise I'll crack up, one of the two. Right. Right. So okay. So where are we then? So we've looked at we've looked at master nodes, and we've looked at copy and pasting. What I want to show you now, which is going to be really cool, is how to do this on a mass scale quickly using batches. So probably doesn't work too well in this particular set of images, but if you can imagine, let's just get rid of all of these. Let's just use my list view, make sure that I've got no patches. Yeah, we have, right. So let's just get rid of all the patches in my list. So it's gone from there, and I've just got those two there. Right, okay, so I've got rid of all my patches now. The list view, as I say, is is a good panel to see these sort of things. Right, but as I said before, what I want to do is show you a way where we can bulk extract patches and then bulk correct them. Now, what I'm going to do is just tidy up my folder. So I'm just going to bin this bunch of patches. Do I want to bin that? No, I don't. I don't want to bin that because I've got my fixes there. I'll bin that one. Right. Okay, so these are the patches that I need. Right, okay, so let's go back to Pano2VR. Right, so what I'm going to do then is, let's just unlock that. Right, basically, what I'm going to do is go to master node, and I'm going to set a patch. I'm going to set its size. Let's just set its size to say 50. Here we go. So it's nice and big. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to click the extract button. Now, I'm going to extract the bottom of a holodeck, right? But no, not really. When I click this, it says extract patches for all nodes. So I'm going to say yes. And boom, done. All right, so that's now done. Pano2VR has, let's minimize this. If I go into the patches folder, we've extracted a patch from every single node. All right. Okay, so that's quite cool. So, okay, I've extracted those. What can I do? Now, I could open them up in Photoshop one at a time. As I edit them, it will correct itself automatically. Whilst those patches are in the patches folder, whatever I do to it, Pano2VR will update automatically. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Photoshop. All right, now I've already built this, and I've built an action, or I've created an action. So what I'm going to do is go Photoshop, automate batch. I created this thing called auto patch. All right, I'll explain all this, but I just want to show you what it does. The source is going to be a folder, and choose the source folder, so it's here. Now, do I really want to stress? Right, I'm going to break this because I'm going to end up patching these as well. So yeah, all right, I'm just going to choose this folder. All right, just for the sake of it, and I'm going to click OK. And what's going to happen is I'm running a batch now where Photoshop automatically brings in my image. I've asked it to make a new layer, and I've also got it to do the lasso tool and do the fill. So it's done that for all of those patches in the folder. So what's going to happen now is those actually it didn't. Right, okay. So it's going to automatically patch all of the images. Now this could have been 100, 2, 3, 400 images, and it will be extract all the patches, done, open up Photoshop, run the batch, done. Everything patched. Of course, it would work. This would work wonderfully if you're on grass or you're on gravel or some other type of area that can be patched fairly quickly. But yeah, you can see the speed of this. If you're a bit mindful of where you're plonking your tripod before you start taking your images, then this can work out to be really, really powerful. Okay, so that's the batching. Now I did say I'm going to show you how you would set this up well, I'm not going to show you how to set it. I'm going to show you where you can get the information, because I've already gone through this in a separate video. So again, with Pano2VR selected, if I go to help and to the help pages, the video that you actually want to look at is the blurred patches video. If I select that, and you actually want time index around about 440, 441, and I actually then go through the process in this video in Photoshop how to set up an action. So you record an action and you save that as a process, and then you can just, as I did, go into Photoshop, run the batch, does everything for you. Now I did say, and which I explain in this video as well, that I did save them with, let me have a look, which one? Let's, anyone, let's, this one I'll do. If I open up in Photoshop, I did save it with an extra level on the understanding that if you've got a patch that's really bad, you can just delete that and you're back to the original image. So I did save these with layers, not levels, layers. All right, so I did save these images with layers. So that's a little bit of a get out of jail if it really goes wrong, which it really did on this one. All right, so you would use that. You could delete that and then probably use a more of a better tool or a clone tool or whatever to make this look a little bit better. But for batching, that is a real quick way of doing loads of images. Right, so that puts that back there. Okay, so we've talked about copy and paste, talked about batching. What is left for me to talk about now is stacking of patches. All right. Okay, so what do I mean by stacking of patches? Right, well, I'll just pick on this. Let me go back to the master node and delete this. So let's just go to edit master node, delete that. Okay, so that gets rid of them all. Come back to this. Or did I? What did I do here? I can't remember what I did here now. No, I saved all of these, didn't I? Okay, so let me update the image. That's what I needed to do. As I said to you, sometimes it's a bit slow to update the images for what's going on. So this is why we've got an update or a reload. So if I update, and we're actually clear. This is basically the cache of Pano2VR, so we're just clearing the cache so we can see the image back again. Right, okay, so what I want to talk about now, or want to show you now, is stacking. Now this is quite cool, and it's a good trick. Basically, again, patch mode, double click, add the patch. I'm going to, let's just get me back to my output so it's less distracting. So yeah, I'm going to set the size to say 50, all right, and what I'm going to do is choose that round logo thing. Here we go. So there's my logo. It's probably not big enough actually. I will go a little bit bigger. And Pano2VR will update. There we go. So that's quite cool. Well, what we'll do now, as I said, we're going to stack patches. So I'm going to double click, add another patch. And this one, I'm going to change to a mirrorball. All right. So we've now got a nice funky mirrorball in the middle. We can resize that. Okay. And I'm going to add another patch because I can, and I'm now going to change or choose. I actually set this in Photoshop and I gave it an emboss type feeling, so we're going to add that on top, and I'm just going to resize that down a little bit. I don't really need to see that, and I want to spin that around, I think, so we can do that. Here we go, and there we go. Here we have our stacked patch. And again, what I could do is go to list view, select all of those. So 1, 2, 3, copy, select all of those, right button click, paste, boom, and everybody gets the patches with when they update. Did I miss the logo off? Don't know. Anyway, you get the, here it is, just needed to update it. Okay, right, okay, right, good call here. What's happened is, whilst doing this, if you look in the list view, you've got these patches. Now these patches, I said they're stacked. So the stack in order is should be, my dark image is at the back. So that was the first one I added. Then the second one was the mirrorball. All right, then that leaves the logo at the top. So the way this works is, as you add something, it starts. So this would be the first patch. As I add another patch, we layer in it and add another patch. So this bottom one is more forward. So if I actually update the image, boom, I get my little fella back. There we go. And there's the logo. So that's the only thing. Now, oddly enough, what should have happened is that should have copied in the right order. Of all the time I was doing this, I did notice once it didn't, and it's just done it for me. Of course it has, because we're doing a live webinar, so if it's going to go wrong, it will. But anyway, there you go. That's the stacking And yeah, I think that just about does me for this webinar. I hope that everything you've seen, select things. Right, okay. Boss man's just come on. It was the order I selected things, apparently. So yeah, if you select the order, so let's do that. So if I select it in that order, I obviously chose something like this. Of course, when I copied that, I would have pasted it in that order. So yeah, so that's something I've learned today as well. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, so you can see you can layer the patches, and yeah, you can make some pretty funky effects. And of course, you can also convert the image so that also becomes part of your image. Right. As I said, I think that just about wraps it up for me. Thank you, Thomas, for coming in on that. And yeah.
All right. So we still have questions from the last break that I want to cover. So we might have to just rewind a little bit.
Yeah, no worries.
So Jim and Kasun had asked if we can patch over the whole sky. So can you extend the field of view to cover that whole sky?
I wouldn't try and do the whole thing. You can, but I would do it with multiple patches. And let's go over. I would do it in multiple patches. Yeah, you can add certain. So yeah, like drones and things like that, right? So yeah, you can actually do quite a big area. So, but yeah, you probably want to do it over several. But yeah, because don't forget, if you patch and you add a patch, you can actually add another patch on top of that, and when you extract that, you're actually extracting part of the first patch you've added as well. So you can actually do this. But we have our field of view here, of course, and you can manually set that to be Mahusive if you wish. So yeah, that's yeah. Okay, so yes, fill your boots. If you extract that, that's going to be a massive image. So yeah, it actually depends on how big your panorama is and how big, and if your photo editor can allow that. But yeah, photo editors, apparently can only allow up to 90 degrees field of view. I'm not sure, but it's whatever your photo editor can handle, and that's that. So yeah, I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, no, I think I think our limitation is only 90 degrees field of view, so that's the.
Yeah,
yeah. Okay. So another question, and Jim says, "Good job. You can now take the rest of the day off."
I want a beer. I want 5.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. And Phil. Yes, just I think a quick question. He's asking if a patch is a solid color, is there a way in Pano2VR to change the opacity? So if you're bringing it in, can you change the opacity within Pano2VR?
No, I think you do that with the photo editor. So if you
you're going to have everything already edited before you have it bring it in.
Yeah, absolutely. That's on that circular one. That's what I did. I just created a PNG with transparency and just faded it out. On this field of view, by the way, what we were saying was that most photo editors can handle a field of view up to 90 degrees, but Pano2VR can actually go way past that. So we could do, say, I don't know, as an example, 110. So we can actually put in, I think, pretty much whatever you wanted. 200? No, it won't go 200. Let's do 199. No, it won't do that. I don't know. Let's do 150 then. Yeah, so we can do 150. So yeah, that's a pretty big old patch. Not that you would, but you can. All right. Oh, Thomas is saying anything below 180. So good luck with that one.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Actually, that's probably cool because, you don't have to just do the sky. You can also do the nadir or the bottom half. And, there was this, I don't know, trend for a while where people were doing mirroring of the floor. You remember seeing it was this reflection, a reflection
of the
nadir. Yeah, and this might be, maybe this can be done here, so.
Right, I think the advice on this is, even though we can push this, I
Don't do
wouldn't.
it.
Don't do it. But I actually think we've actually missed the boat here. I think we should just extract the whole image as a patch. But there you go. But there you go. That's me.
Some
But
use
no.
cases. Yeah, I could see some use cases for there.
Or just put the equirectangular into Photoshop. I don't know. But anyway, yes, you can. But yeah, the whole point of this is to quickly do things and do what you want. And yeah, 70 is great and whatnot. But yeah.
The patch was originally meant for getting, fixing the nadir, getting rid of the tripod, and fixing anything in the zenith. So and it was developed before commercial drones.
Yeah, true enough.
So, but anyway, so let's move on. We have another question. If there is there a limitation on patch size? Kasunak asks.
Well, yeah, don't go above 180 field of view.
Yeah.
So I think that just about covers that one. But yeah, I think it's I think let's be sensible. It's we can extract fairly big images, but of course, it's just be sensible with it. I think we can extract, but yeah.
Okay, and I think that's it. I'm just going through all of our answered questions.
Actually, if right, okay, I've got this little feed from Thomas, and he's actually saying to me, he's like saying, what is it, 300,000 by 300,000 pixels,
is the limit of our patch?
I don't know. I'm just reading this. Hang on. He's coming in again. Hang on. I love live feeds. Photoshop limit. Right. So that's the Photoshop limit. Yeah. 300,000 by 300,000. So as long as you make it fit inside there, you should be fine. But I wouldn't do it. I just, yeah. I mean,
now we know all about. Now we've all learned about how much how much Photoshop can take and how much we can extract.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, but yeah, I think if there aren't any other questions, we can wrap it up.
Yeah, cool. So if that's the case, then, thank you so much, everybody, for coming. Obviously, we've got another one I want next week. It's, I forget what we're doing now. What we're doing? It's
customization.
Customization, that's the kiddie. And it's looking at the skins and what we can do to change them, or not so much skins, but it's our default skins. So what you can do to modify them and change them without getting, without opening up the skin editor, really. So basically just all the things from the customization button, so the config button. So yeah, that should be quite good. Again, all of these series is, we've not entered, the skin editor. We've not entered all the scary rumors that are on the internet that, you need to be a programmer for Pano2VR. We've done quite a few in this series already, and yeah, nothing's programming. It's all drag and drop, slide it in. And yeah, so I personally look forward to seeing you all next week. And so that's it from me. And
I turned off my mic. I'm sorry.
I'm going to remove that button from you. Actually, I'm gonna.
Sometimes I just can't get there fast enough, and there's not a keyboard shortcut. So
yeah, I'm going to put a bit of tape over it. That's what I'm going to do.
So yeah, and that's it for me. So thanks a lot. And just a quick reply to Gustavo. Thanks for the input. A lot of those things you're asking about, suggesting webinar suggestions, we've already covered. So you can go to our page, ggnome.com/webinars. I think, yeah. Martin can show us.
So
yeah.
So documentation, webinars. These are all the past webinars. Oh, there's quite a few now. We're racking them up, and these are the ones that are coming. So
yeah, there's a lot there. We've covered a lot already.
So that's the next.
Yeah, and you'll see, talking about controllers, Martin will cover this, I think, in the customization, and we'll probably cover that also in the skins the following
Yeah,
the
I
one
mean,
after customization.
absolutely, like customization. As I say, I want to keep out the skin editor, but we want to show you everything you can do and all the customization you can do without diving into the skin. So yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks for the questions, and yeah, we always enjoy doing this. So hope to see you next week.
All right, everyone. Thanks a lot for coming. Bye.